This girl literally took her scholarship money, said, to hell with paying for these books, I'm about to fly my man out. I was like, oh, she really bout it.
I would be so depressed every time we had to leave each other.
Yeah, when I got on the flight, that's when it hit me. And I started like crying. I was like, man, I did not want to leave.
We wrote each other every single day when he was in basic training, you guys.
Always had anxiety because, again, you remember I grew up, no one ever showed up for me. They didn't show up for games, they didn't show up. So I didn't know if it was going to be a letter in there. But you made sure I had a letter every single day.
I used to have to expedite every single letter. I paid $15 every letter, so every day, to make sure that it would get there within like 2 to 3 days.
What are the odds of a couple of us even being together? You live in Nova Scotia, I live in Florida. What are the odds of us getting married?
I think at the center of our relationship has always been the fact that we followed God's plan. We never put pressure on each other to be more than what we were in that moment.
But it wasn't always perfect. Like I know like this sounds like a Cinderella story. It was amazing, it was perfect. Like it was really rough when we first moved in with one another.
The next part of us was like, okay, blending each other's lives. And I think that's where reality kind of hit us in the face.
Oh, don't I know it?
The story continues. We don't believe that the perfect marriage exists.
Facts, but intentional ones do.
And over the years,
we've learned that it takes more than just love to build a life together.
This is the show where we share what's worked for us. This is
The Bailey Way. What's up, family? It's your boy Durelle.
And I'm Samantha.
And this is The Bailey Way. All right, y'all. So in the last episode, we left off on talking about how I gifted you something I got from my Nana.
Yes,
okay,
you did.
And you know what? My heart was in the right place.
It was, and I appreciate that.
And look where it got me.
Look, now we're buying Chanel bags.
Look at where it got us.
We have come so far.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
They say the prayers of the righteous available. I knew you was a righteous woman. That's why I got you the darn book. Okay.
It was a test.
Nana knew. Nana knew that it was gonna be a re-gift. so she was like, I got you covered.
We need to have a son, and when he feels like he finds the one, he needs to give her that book.
He needs to give her that book.
It just needs to get passed down.
That's right, and he needs to understand the significance of that book.
Yeah.
That book gonna get him a good life. Okay, get them a good life, I should say. But man, okay, our story is getting so good. So I actually love talking about our story because it's so unconventional.
Yeah. And sometimes I forget, I forget just how crazy it is because it's, first of all, this is like 10 years ago.
Well, it got me.
Over 10 years ago.
About 11 years ago now.
Like 12.
This was 2014. We're still in 2014.
Yeah.
We haven't got 2015 yet.
And now we're in 2026. But it is crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's
insane. And like, as I was listening to you say like how your parents gave me all those gifts, I started to get a little emotional sitting here. I was like, man, that's like insane to me that, you know, that type of love exists. You know what I'm saying? And it was interesting, like, for that to happen the way it did. And so here we are. I'm in Canada for Christmas, and it's getting to the end of the trip. Now, this is when I knew that you and I were inseparable. Is when it was time for me to go home.
Oh my gosh. You would have thought he was like leaving to go on a deployment or something.
You would have thought I was leaving and never coming back the way you reacted.
It's not good. I would be so depressed every time we had to leave each other.
Yeah. Like leading up to the day, and I didn't know what was going on with you, but like leading up to the last couple of days of that trip, you were just like quiet. You were like, and then, you know, the last, literally, like it was, and I had early morning flights around that time. And I remember like you were just in tears when we were, and we both were, but like it was really hard. And I remember your parents taking me to the airport, and when I got on the flight, that's when it hit me. And I started like crying. I was like, man, I did not want to leave, but I was upset for a conglomerate of reasons. Like I was missing you, but also like that love that I got, and knowing that I was going back to like a place where I'm still trying to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? Like it was so safe and so, I mean, like your mom's home cooked meals, the stuffing, the mac and cheese, the turkey, the poppies,
Oh, yeah,
the little paper. Yeah.
The little gift.
Yes.
Christmas gift thing.
All that stuff. Even how comfortable the bed was, like with the mattress cover and everything. I mean, it was just so, the jacuzzi, y'all's jacuzzi outside in the back. And so for me, it was just extremely emotional because I was like, man, I don't want to leave this. Like, I just want to be here. And so I get back home and we pretty much got right back to us. We on the phone again, we're talking again.
So at this point, I'm getting ready to go to Dubai.
You're getting ready to go to Dubai.
I'm getting ready. So he leaves, I think you had stayed for New Year's. You stayed for New Year's.
Yep.
And I was leaving mid-January to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
So we came up with a plan.
We did come up with a plan.
We came up with a plan.
Before that though, before that even happened.
What?
Oh man. Okay, so before that even happened, we had decided that I was joining the military.
Yes.
I decided through another, another confirmation from Till, from God and your dad, that I was joining the military, and you were like, I was nervous to tell you and your parents, but all of y'all was like, yes, like that's amazing. And I was like, would you follow me? You'd be okay. And you were like, absolutely, like, yeah. And so I just wanted to throw that out there that did happen as well before.
So it's obviously a process to join the military. So Durelle was going through that process.
Right.
We didn't know if it would take 1 month. We didn't know if it would take 5 months, a year. But I was getting ready to go to Dubai. So I moved to Dubai before I went to Dubai, so the way it works is if you go to college or like university in Nova Scotia, I don't know if it's still this way, but when I went to university, if you're Black, you get a scholarship. I think it was like $2,500 a semester or something like that. But I knew my parents had already paid my tuition because I was studying abroad. So I gave my debit card to my best friend, shout out to Meg. She's a ride or die. And I was like, Meg, when my check comes with this scholarship, put your name down, they'll release it to you. I need you to deposit it into my bank because I'm flying Durelle to Dubai.
Shoot, I'm about to get flown out. What? Ooh, don't eat.
So it happened, guys. He came the same, so my parents came in like March, I think it was?
Yeah, I came before them though. Yeah.
You came a few days before them.
Yeah.
He came a few days before my parents, and we basically did like a family vacation.
We did a
Dubai.
whole family vacation.
And
it
my
was
parents
crazy.
were like, Durelle, how'd you get out to Dubai? Like, how did you get here?
They just found out like last year how that actually
You couldn't even get
happened.
to Nova Scotia, but you could get to Dubai? Who paid for this?
We told them it was my godmother.
We told them it was Susan. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's so nice.
they're like, that's so sweet. And we were like,
God
isn't
bless
it?
her.
Isn't it just so nice, man? And it's crazy because like this girl literally took her scholarship money. Now y'all gotta understand this, right? When you come up on some bread, you know what I'm saying? Like you either pocketed it, you about to go spend it on, some new shoes, some new clothes. You about to go spend that money on like, something that you want to do for yourself, And when you took that money and you said, to hell with paying for these books, I'm about to fly my man out. I was like, oh, she really bout it. Oh, she bout it. Oh, she remembered the comment.
Paid off.
She remembered the comment. Thank you, Tyrese. Yes. She remembered the comment. If you're watching this without watching the first part, go watch the first part first. But I was just like, yo, she really flew me out here. And so I remember being so nervous because flying to Nova Scotia is very different from flying to Dubai. And so when I flew to Nova Scotia...
And I couldn't afford first class or business class.
No.
I'm pretty sure, did you have a middle seat?
I had a middle seat, but I was on Emirates though. And I remember being so nervous because the flight was like 18 hours.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous because, I grew up claustrophobic. I don't like being in small spaces, whatever. But I'm like, I'm getting flown out to Dubai. I'm about to get my nervous behind on this flight. I know that much. And so, using the passport that your parents got me, I got on that flight. I sat in that middle seat. I had 2 Arab men sleeping on my shoulder. I ain't bother them because I didn't want to upset nobody because I didn't know where they was from.
Wait,
I said, but we all going to Dubai.
I just thought about something. What did your family think? Were they just like, what is Durelle doing all of a sudden?
Listen,
he's in Canada, he's here,
look,
now he's going to Dubai.
They must have thought
They were probably like, what is going on?
I don't know what they thought. They probably thought I was selling drugs. They probably thought, oh, he just like his daddy. He out there selling drugs. Look, because ain't no way that boy, he can't even afford a bike.
They're like, he just asked me for money for food last week. And now he's going to Dubai?
He asking me for his food stamp card. How he going to Dubai? That boy ain't got no money. Somebody better get a hold of him. Tell him put them drugs down.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, when I got there, I remember like the Dubai airport is ridiculous. And I remember when I flew there, and you know, God is amazing because he always has provision. He's always had provision over my life because I was so nervous on that flight. But before I even set foot on the flight, I remember there were 2 other black men. We were 3 black people, the only 3 black people on the entire flight. And I remember there were 2 other black men. And it was almost like they just knew to look out for me because I was by myself. So they came up to me, they were like, you good, bro? Let us know if you need anything. You remember I got a selfie with them. Do you remember those 2 guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I still have that.
I do.
When we landed in Dubai, I took a selfie with them.
I remember.
I got to post it. Hopefully I could post it here in this episode. But there were 2 guys and they were looking out. They was like, hey, bro, let us know if you need anything. If you get, like, just reassuring me, like, oh, we do this all the time. You'll be fine. Just watch movies. You're going to go to sleep and then you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up there. And I was like, oh, thank God for these fellas, man, because I was so nervous. And when I got to Dubai, I remember just like being it was a culture shock because, you know, 1, it was a different smell. Right, but 2,
all you smell is like oud.
Yeah, the oud aroma, right? That aroma. And when I got to the actual airport, and I'm looking around like, whoa, like I can't believe I'm here. Like this is crazy. And you know, you and Mahmoud came and picked me up, your driver.
Mahmoud, the driver.
And I was so excited to see you. We went to your dorm. You showed me around your dorm, and I remember they started doing the call to prayer. When we pulled up, and I was a little bit nervous.
There was a mosque right
There was a mosque right there. And I was looking around like, wait, ain't that about to pop off, is it? Because they started, you know, to call to prayer.
Meanwhile, we're in the safest place
we're
in the world.
Yeah, exactly. At that time, obviously there's some things going on right now, but, you know, and, you know, we went and checked into our hotel, and Samantha and I was breaking all the rules, y'all. Back then, it was against the law.
Dubai it is today. Like you couldn't even wear like a tank top in the mall. Like I remember going to Dubai Mall and I got turned around because I had like spaghetti straps on.
Yeah.
Now you could probably go in strapless. You might get some stares.
Right.
But they're a lot more lenient now.
Oh, absolutely. Now it's a tourist attraction, right? Yeah. But back then, you couldn't show no public affection. If you weren't married, you were not supposed to be caught living or spending the night in the same room, okay? But me and Samantha did not care. And
so I had a ring from my parents.
You slick, girl.
And I was like, I'm gonna put it on my ring finger when we check into the hotel. So that's exactly what we did. Don't you remember that?
I didn't remember that. I was trying to figure out how you ended up booking.
I put it on my wedding finger for when we checked in, just because I didn't want them to like ask us questions or ask to see like a marriage certificate or something.
It was crazy. And you know what's funny, like looking back, it's like God was showing us our life before we actually got into what we're even doing now. We check in, we're at the hotel, you know, obviously everything in Dubai is extremely nice. And so I'm just looking around, I'm touching stuff. You know, and it's funny because we ended up going to Drake's very first concert in Dubai when we were out there.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. So the first time I went to my very first concert was in Dubai, and we saw Drake in Dubai.
We had floor seats.
Not only that, do you remember what happened?
Yes. Well, we were the only like black people there. Everyone there was like Arab, Emirati,
or Ethiopian,
whatever. And so they took a picture of us because I know for sure they thought we were somebody.
They thought we were famous.
We were dressed like, we looked like
we had all black on.
Yeah, I had on like the leather with the sunglasses. And so they took a picture of us, and then they put us in the magazine. In Dubai, they have this magazine called Time Out Dubai.
Yep.
And so they put us in the magazine. I wonder if it's online.
It's definitely online somewhere. We can go find it. I have a picture of it. It's on my Facebook.
Yeah, we were in the magazine. And then the next day my parents came, and then it was that was our first travel experience.
That was our first travel experience, yeah.
And they were so happy that Durelle was there. And again, you guys, at the end of that trip, I got quiet. The last day I was so sad. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just like, you guys are gonna leave me here. Mm-hmm. I was so sad. But then I remember what was crazy was after that trip, Durelle goes home, and I don't even think it was a week. And they called him and they were like, all right,
you got orders.
It's your time.
Yeah.
You're going to boot camp.
There's like, it's time for you to go. And the thing about that is, like, when I got home, I was in a situation again. So while I'm experiencing this fantasy life with Samantha, I'm getting a glimpse of what God has for me in the future. I'm still living in a very unstable situation. I don't have any income. I don't know what's going to happen next. I was in the middle of like learning if I was going to get in the Air Force or not. We're trying to figure it out. Because you got to understand, one, I had identity theft. Two, I had things in my name. Like, the Air Force don't play. Like, you have to have like almost like you have to have a very clean slate to get in the Air Force. Maybe you get in the Marine Corps or the Army with some stuff, but you can't have any priors. You can't have none of that stuff. And I knew
you can't even have flat feet.
You can't have flat feet. That's right.
I don't know how you got through with those.
Well, you know what? They took me. So again, God. But I didn't know what was going to happen. And so as I was waiting, it was still nerve-wracking because in my mind at this point, the Air Force was my plan. Like, I finally felt like I had a plan. And so they called me and they were like, hey, my recruiter was like, hey, I got a job for you. And I was like, oh, did I get one of the ones that I asked for? Because my top jobs that I selected was Health Service Administration, a regular medic. I think I chose like cybersecurity, and then there was another one on there, HR, something like that. I just wanted a basic job. I wasn't trying to be G.I. Joe, go out there, you know what I'm saying, knocking off, you know what I'm saying, warheads on foreheads. I was just trying to do what I had to do. And so he called me and he was like, I got a job for you. He was like, you remember how I was telling you for some of those other jobs, it'll take a year or two, they come around every so often. He's like, do you want to get out of here next week? And I was like, look, I'm ready to get my life started now, bro. Yeah. He was like, okay, here's the deal. He said, you're going to have to go in open general. Now, what open general means is that you go in and then it's left up to chance. Whatever job you get. It's a gamble. You know what I'm saying? It's like playing Russian roulette. They choose the job for you. And typically when that happens, you're going into a very high stress job.
The ones that nobody
want to do, right? So you're looking at, security forces, you're looking at maintenance, you're looking at some infantry style jobs, high deployment jobs, right? And it was weird because I felt so at ease. Like, it was like almost like God was like, they have their plan, I got mine. And I remember thinking to myself, I didn't even question it. I was like, let's go. I'm ready. Come on. Let's go. Because for some reason in my brain, I just knew I was going to end up with a good job. I knew it.
Yeah.
I just knew. And I remember I got to boot camp, and I'm going through boot camp, and I ended up being dorm chief. And so I had 60 guys in my flight, and all of them had their jobs. I was the only one that didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And they would tell me every day, they're like, bro, you're going to end up getting security forces. Like, you're going to end up having to carry a weapon every day and do all this and whatever.
Work crazy shifts.
And I was just work crazy shifts. You can work 12, you work mids, you never going to go home on holidays, all this stuff, right? So I had it made up in my mind, like, I'm probably going to end up working. I'm probably end up being a cop or having to deploy a lot. And I became okay with that. When I graduated boot camp, and I remember throughout that time, we could talk about our letters and stuff like that, but when I graduated boot camp, I remember I got the message. They were like, hey, we got a job for you. And when I looked at the message, the job ended up being the very first one I chose when I was at the recruiter's office, Health Service Administrator. And I was like, bro, God is so good. And everybody was shocked. Even my MTIs were shocked. My MTIs were shocked. My military training instructors were shocked. My whole squadron, everybody was like, how did you get a job in the AC, regular work hours, all this stuff, when people typically have to wait a year or two for a job like that?
Yeah.
You got it when you came back from Dubai in a week, and we all got to go do these, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, that's just the favor of God. It really is. And so, I just wanted to tell that story real quick because that was just amazing. And then we ended up, I found out I went to tech school, and then I got my first base. I remember calling you, letting you know that I was getting stationed in Tucson, Arizona.
We were waiting so long to find out, like, okay, where is Durelle gonna live? Because this is probably gonna be the first place that I'm gonna live in the States.
Yep.
And so we were just waiting. We wrote each other every single day when he was in basic training, you guys. And keep in mind, I was in Canada, so I come back from Dubai. He's in, where was it? San Antonio, Texas.
Yep.
And so in Canada, because I didn't want to, so you have to send it through snail mail, which is like regular mail. And I was in Canada, so I used to have to expedite every single letter. I paid $15 every letter, so every day, to make sure that it would get there within like 2 to 3 days.
Mind you, boot camp is 2 months, y'all.
It's 2 months.
So every day.
I was sending letters every single day.
Let me see, what is that? 62 times 15. You spent about $1,000, $930 just to get me a letter.
Yeah.
To
Mom
ensure
would
I
go
had
buy
something to
me
read.
stamps. Yeah, she would make sure that she would write letters, and that was the first time. Remember, Durelle mentioned in the last episode that we talked every day, all day on the phone.
Yeah.
That was the first time that we couldn't really talk. And I remember he would get like phone calls every once in a while. I don't think there was one phone call that I didn't answer. I literally lived by my phone, ring her up, just waiting for a phone call. And Durelle would like run when they would be allowed to have phone calls. He'd run to the front of the line, and then he'd be the first one to do a phone call, and then he'd run back to the back of the line so that he could get a second phone call. So I always knew, like, okay, we're gonna talk for like maybe 15 minutes, but make sure I'm available in like another hour, because he's gonna call again. And we would be so excited just to talk on the phone.
Absolutely. I remember that. Like, it was interesting because, you know, being in boot camp, you're separated from the world. Like, you don't have your phones, you don't know what's going on in the outside world, you don't see a TV, you don't even get in a car for a whole 2 months straight. You're just training. You're learning defense, you're learning weapons, you're learning all these different tactics. You're learning a bunch of stuff, but it has nothing to do with being in contact with the outside world. And every chance I had, when we had our first call was like after like 2 or 3 weeks, and bro, I like, you know how you walk downstairs and there's like at least 12 steps. I remember going up to the stairs and I jumped down the stairs. And then I jumped down the next one and I sprinted to the payphones, because that's how we had to call. We had to call from payphones, you know, at the dorms. And for those of you who've been in the Air Force, you know, you got Disneyland and you got the old dorms. I was in the old dorms. We had 2 working showers with 60 guys. So you do that math. And, you know, I would call you and I would try to stay. They would have to tap my shoulder like, bro, come on. And I remember I felt so privileged because there were guys that didn't get letters, you know, because either their family didn't expedite it or whatever, but you made sure I had a letter every single day. And every day, that's what we do. We go in the bail room. Our MTI will be like, he'll get a box, start pulling out letters. Hey, Johnson, here you go. Taylor. And I would just be waiting for my name, And I always had anxiety because, again, you remember I grew up, no one ever showed up for me. They didn't show up for games, they didn't show up. So I didn't know if it was going to be a letter in there. And every time I would hear my name, I would just be like, I get so excited. And you always left a kiss on there, like your lipstick on there. And, you know, you'll spray a little something on there and then have... So that was just a really special time. And then now we moved to Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona, and originally Durelle had got orders to New Mexico. And someone paid him to switch bases with him to go to Davis Mountain, Arizona. And it's so funny because I was working at the Better Business Bureau in Halifax, And it just so happened that the Better Business Bureau in Tucson had an opening. And so my boss at Better Business Bureau in Halifax talked to the one in Arizona. Shout out to her name was Pam Krim. She was so sweet. She was my first boss. But I had to go through the citizenship process. So I technically couldn't be an employee, but I could be a contractor. And so as soon as I moved to Tucson, you guys, I had a job, which is just, again, goes back to just God's plan for our life, because
literally,
like, just the way that things worked out and the timing of everything, when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't have dreamt up or written anything better than what God's plan was for our life. But that was my first time, other than Dubai, living, like truly living away from home.
Yeah.
And that was our first time living together too.
Yeah. It was crazy, because I don't know that either of us were like expecting to go to a place and pretty much be set. You know what I'm saying? Because we were trying to figure out where are we gonna land, and then at first it was like you said, New Mexico. We was like, what's in New Mexico? And then even Arizona, we both were like, what's in Tucson? Where is this place?
You know what? Not to interrupt you, but I have a question I don't think I've ever asked you before. In both of our minds, we both knew I was gonna move to the States. But now that I'm thinking about it, and we're talking about how kind of established we were in Canada, why do you think that was never a conversation? Like, why was it never, well, why don't you move to Canada?
You know what? I think the reason that I knew that you weren't going to ask me to move to Canada, because to be honest with you, I was not going to move to Canada. But
you don't want to move to Halifax?
No, I love Halifax. I love Nova Scotia. The people there are great. The best people in the world. But the nicest people ever. But no, I knew that you were going to move to the States, because you always talked about, ever since you visited Atlanta as a little girl, that you knew that you were always going to move to the States. So I think that it didn't even cross my mind, because when we were dating, you had expressed that. Yeah. And so it was just like, well, I know she wants to come here, so this makes it even better. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, and then it ended up happening.
And it's so funny. It's funny how God will like put things in your path and kind of show you what your future looks like. Because my mom's, one of her best friends, her name is Dar. Shout out to Dar. She's probably going to watch this podcast. But she lived in Nova Scotia, same as me, grew up there, you know, family was from Nova Scotia, and she had met Mel, who is the best, and he lives in Atlanta. And so she moved.
And they met online too.
This is like early 2000s, maybe. I don't think it was in the 90s, but like early 2000s. And so we went to visit her and Mel for Christmas one year. I had went to get my prom dress there in high school. And when I touched down, you guys, keep in mind, I am like from a small town, Nova Scotia. Yes, I've traveled the world, but I landed in Atlanta, you guys, and I looked out my window, and the people coming to get our luggage were black. And I was like, where am I? Like, I am not in Nova Scotia anymore. And when I got to Atlanta, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I belong here. I thought Atlanta was it. I was like, I want to move to Atlanta. But it was just a different world, and there was so much more diversity. And I think there were a lot of like black people there that felt aspirational to me, that I was like, this is the kind of like black excellence I want to be around. And then I moved to DC, and I feel like that's true black excellence. But I feel like DC is like where we're meant to live. So I had seen somebody do it already, and I think that that's also why I was so optimistic about the fact that Durelle and I could do it, because I knew someone who had immigrated. And so we went through the entire citizenship process. I got my green card. I could finally leave the country. We could get back to traveling. I could work and get paid.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it was never a question for me, because I knew how passionate you were about coming to the States in the first place. And then, you know, we got our first apartment in Arizona, which was really nice, because that worked out perfectly. And what's funny about that is I ended up getting approved on my credit, which is crazy, because I didn't even realize I had a good enough credit to get our own apartment. Yeah. Again, another act of God. And then we ended up you had to go back for school, right? For your co-op, right? In 2016. And then we got married in 2017. Had our wedding back in Deerfield, full circle moment.
Yeah.
Which was incredible. And then we pretty much started life together, and a lot more happened in between that. But that is pretty much like our origin story. That's how we started. Yeah.
I think so. One of the questions I had for you is, what do you feel like we got right from the beginning?
I feel like we were unafraid to take risks. I think that's one of the things that like made us very successful to where we are now, is that like, you know, typically people look at a situation and they assess it based off of what they can see.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds of a couple of us even being together? You live in Nova Scotia, I live in Florida. What are the odds of us getting married? You're starting your job there, I'm gonna be in the military. What are the odds of me coming to Dubai? How are we gonna afford it, right? Like, I feel like everything that happened for us resulted in us being willing to take risks and, you know, seeing what was on the other side of it. And everything doesn't work out how it's supposed to from our perspective, but it always worked out the way God had it work or wanted it to work out for us. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that we got right. What about you? What do you think?
I echo what you said too. I think that we just always took risks and were rewarded for those. But I think also early on, we had really good support. And I want to shout out my mom and dad, because I think that what I would love to see more of is families kind of being involved in a healthy way in the success of their kids' relationships. Yeah. Just like parents invest in making sure that their kids go to college and are successful, I think my mom and dad were also very invested in the success of my love life too. Like they knew that, you know, you and I wanted to be together, and they did their part to make sure that, you know, we had the best chances of that working out. So I think that having like support and kind of asking for help when we needed it was good. But I think just in terms of our relationship, going back to what we talked about last episode, just that we were always so open with each other. We were always like just there for each other. We loved talking, and I think that's a huge benefit you get from being long distance is you have nothing else to do but talk to each other. Yeah, exactly. And so that's still, I think, such a core piece of our relationship is we just like to talk. We like each other. We like each other. Yeah, and I think that's really important. And also, I think, speaking of like things that we got right, is we made sure to have, well, I'll really say you, because you've been a planner from day one, but you always made sure that we had a date to look forward to. And so like we would, you know, leave each other in October, but the next day you already looking at flights for December. Yeah. Or you're already looking at flights for the next thing. And so, it was always like, you know, something to look forward to. And even in boot camp, we would look forward to not only me being done, but you coming. Yeah. And us spending some time together, you know, on my days there. And so I think that's one of the biggest things we got right. And so I think if there's anything to take away from our story is really just one, being okay with taking risks, being okay with actually liking and loving somebody, and having something to look forward to, and like, you know, just seeing where that love can take you. But I think just looking back, it's funny because it's so normal to us, our story, but then when we tell it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like some of the things I just can't believe we've been through and worked out and took chances, but just to be where we are now, and obviously we got married in 2017, so there's a whole lot that's happened. Oh, there's a whole lot. We still got a lot more to talk about, y'all. At the center of our relationship has always been the fact that we've followed God's plan. Yeah. And he's always had a certain level of favor over us. We've tried to do everything the right way as much as we could. And going back to the point I made last episode too, we never put pressure on each other to be more than what we were in that moment.
Yeah.
And we just loved each other no matter what stage of life we were at.
Absolutely. And, you know, and I think we'll end up talking about this a little later on, but it wasn't always perfect. Like, I know, like, this sounds like a Cinderella story. It was amazing. It was perfect. Like, it was really rough when we first moved in with one another. Like, we definitely had some things that we had to work through. And so
I think as amazing as all of this sounds, the next part of us was like, okay, blending each other's lives. And I think that's where reality kind of hit us in the face. And we were like, wow, we have had this like and the story's still beautiful, even though we've had things to work through, but we've had this very beautiful story where we've just enjoyed each other. And, you know, and then you get to a point where, okay, you're together all the time. And so you start seeing things
blending
and
your
working
lives
through things. Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And, you know, what we want people to learn through that is difficult times is not a permission slip to take an exit in your marriage or to take an exit in really any commitment. And so it's like, you know, that's the next thing. God will bless you with something, but just because he blessed you with it doesn't mean that it's just perfect all the time. There is still watering that has to be done, maintenance that has to be done, and you have to care for it. And so, but yeah, y'all, this is our origin story. That's how we met. Definitely tell us what y'all think in the comments. Let us know below. Like, if y'all have any questions, we might have left some things out. I don't know, but y'all talk to us. Let us know. We appreciate you guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all subscribe. Love y'all.
You don't want to miss an episode.
Peace.
Bye.